RFK Jr. is a rather interesting fellow. Technically, he is still in the 2024 United States presidential election. He is scheduled to drop out at any moment and endorse Trump, but that's not what makes him interesting. But I do find it rather interesting that he was not considered a serious contender for the 2024 United States presidential election, given the fact that people were tired of Biden, there are people that are tired of Trump, and there are people that do not like Kamala Harris. And I do believe there are some people that are voting for her because they believe there's no other choice, and this is the better alternative against Trump. But, you know, there is still RFK Jr. in the race, and that goes for both sides. But like I have said in many videos and other videos, when it comes to my own personal preference to voting, I believe that the left wing and the right wing are still controlled by that same head, and that same head is the World Economic Forum and other organizations. But this video is not about voting or who you should vote for. This is something that I find rather interesting about RFK Jr. Now, about a month ago, I made a video on YouTube how there's a certain club where its members have discolored eyes, and it's usually the left eye. I made this video after Sharon Stone came out and she said she got her black eye by falling on a marble floor. And she was very excited, she was very proud to show off this black eye. So because that video mentioned a certain, let's say a Google Chrome, YouTube said, no, we are not going to allow this video here. They took it down, and I had to repost that video on my Umble page. Now, I will leave the link below in the comment section below and the description of this video to that video. It's a very interesting video. It does explore the certain discolored eye club, its members, and certain theories behind this club. One of the theories that I had spoken about in that video, and one that I actually do find fascinating, is the Vril theory, the V-R-I-L theory. On paper, the Vril theory sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, a parasite entering a human's eye, and that parasite controlling the human's brain. Now, it is something that does indeed happen in nature to certain creatures. But when we think of it happening to a human, we think of it, like I said, as sci-fi, as fiction. But a lot of people do buy into the Vril theory. They believe that this is why we see a lot of these people in upper places, like celebrities, politicians, even religious figures, sports players, always have this discolored eye. And well, RFK Jr. happens to be no different. He was also seen sporting a black eye. There is an individual, his name is Donald Marshall, who says he has a lot of information when it comes to the Vrils, and he believes it is the Vrils that's causing these high-profile people to have this black eye. And the whole concept of the Vril, which had been started by a Berlin, Germany group in the 1800s, this group called itself the Luminous Lodge or the Vril Society. The Vril Society is the mother group to a certain 1930s Germany party. The word Vril means light force, and people do believe that the light force that this is referring to is Lucifer the light bearer's light force. This is how Donald Marshall describes the Vril practice. Its droning is a process where the Vril parasite injects its proboscis into the human eye, enabling it to take control of the host brain. This takeover results in a distressing experience for the human, as their consciousness is forced to give way to the consciousness of the Vril parasite. This is basically why we see a lot of celebrities and people with status start to act rather strange after a while. The memory and the abilities of the former human are retained, and the behavior of the drone replicates that of the host. Essentially, the former human becomes a replica, a vessel for the Vril parasite. One of the people used as the example in this article, out of all the people that have this infamous discolored eye, was again Sharon Stone, because the reason she gave behind this discolored eye made absolutely no sense whatsoever. She tripped, she fell on the floor, she smacked her face on the marble, her cheek, her chin, her nose has no discolorment whatsoever. She did not injure any other part on her face except her eye socket. And because of how giddy she's acting in the video and how she's showing this off, people believe this is not exactly what she's telling us. It happens to be something a lot more sinister, and people are pointing to the Vril theory.
I've been in so many hotels in so many countries that I got up in the middle of the night to pee and didn't know where I was and smacked my face on the marble. No, nobody did anything to me. And yes, I'm just fine and I'm having a great time. And I'm being welcomed very beautifully on my trip everywhere that I've gone. And I'm having just the greatest time. And it's getting better. But it really is a good-looking shiner. You should see what I did to that marble floor. Thanks so much for caring about me. I care about you too. Thank you.
Like I had said, this theory does indeed sound like something out of a sci-fi or a horror movie that we have seen time and time again. Going back to RFK Jr., like I said, he also had the infamous discoloration on his eye. Back in 2010, he actually had a rather interesting medical abnormality. Somehow, some way, a worm entered his brain, and that worm passed away. Kennedy said he recalls experiencing brain fog and having trouble with word retrieval and short-term memory. He was initially told by doctors that he had a tumor in his brain and was planning to have it removed before he met with another doctor who looked at images of his brain and said it did not look like a tumor. After the doctor measured the abnormality and determined that it hadn't grown, Kennedy continued, they said this is almost certainly a parasite that got into your brain. It's a parasite that's very common in India, where he had done a lot of environmental work. This parasite actually ate part of his brain. Now, yes, it is true you can go to other countries like India and get a brain parasite. That's very true. But come to find out, RFK Jr. gave multiple conflicting reports of how he was told he had this brain parasite and how he got this brain parasite. His stories were not lining up, and they were actually conflicting what he had told people previously, what he had told news and media previously. He said no, it wasn't India or another country. He did not further respond. When news and media tried to get a response from him due to this confliction, he again didn't respond, nor did anybody in his camp respond. As RFK Jr. was running again in 2024, he was asked about his health, and he was asked about this brainworm, and he said he was fine. He does not have to disclose any information about his health or this brainworm. When the Times asked him about this brainworm because they were concerned about a presidential candidate having part of his brain eaten away, he said that he had recovered from the memory loss without treatment. All of his neurological problems were recovered without any sort of treatment. He has no medical records to show that he has any abnormalities, but again, he has fully recovered. He now blames tainted fish for this brainworm. He realizes that he got mercury poisoning from tainted fish or fish with too much metal, and he believes also eating too much fish had caused this brainworm here in the United States. Do I believe that the Vril theory or Vrils was the reason behind this brainworm? I don't know. There are multiple theories when it comes to the Discolored Eye Club, and all of them are rather interesting. Like I said, if you want to see my Humble video, I do explore 3 of those theories. But when it comes to RFK Jr. and this brainworm, I do find it rather interesting as well that he keeps flip-flopping on this story. But I do want to hear from you. Do you think there's something to this whole Vril society, this Vril parasite, and RFK Jr.'s brainworm? Or do you think it's something else? Let me know in the comment section below. In any case, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.